Hello everybody and welcome today where I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet, and that is to show you my post-processing process of one of the photographs that I took recently. I was out in Björne, as you guys know, and I tried out the tent and was going to camp, but I was a bit distracted by all the ticks. So you know what happened. I chickened out. I didn't want to be there where there were so many ticks. So I went home, and on my way home I saw this composition of the rock towards the ocean and fiery clouds in the background. So I figure I'd just show you the raw image and show you how I post-process everything. Like show you how I work with the photos that I take, because they don't look like the final image from the camera directly. I always post-process my images. So yeah, let's get to it. I have my computer here, so let's start. So what we're looking at here is the final image. And if I just reset everything, hit the reset button over here, you can see how the image looked taken directly from the camera. So this is my original photograph. And what I usually do in the beginning is that I look at my composition. So first of all, I always have to keep the horizon straight, right? That's one of the important parts here. So what I usually go and do is I start off with cropping. So I'm kind of happy with this composition as is. So I'm just gonna focus a little bit of making the horizon a little bit straighter. What I'm looking at is this line here, because it would be weird for the viewer if the horizon was like a bit off. This looks strange. So yeah, this is still not quite straight, so I'm just gonna straighten it up a little bit. And here we are. So I'm happy with this. So what I want to do here is that I want to bring out more details on the rocks and more details on this fiery sky, because this looks really flat right now. There's no colors, there are no dimension of depth in this image right this moment. So to bring out more information on this rock here, I could increase the exposure, but that would also mess up my sky. So I'm kind of happy with the exposure as is here. So what I am doing instead is that I'm bringing out some details by pushing up the shadows a little bit. Not too much, because it would be too grainy. So around here. So you can see the rock here. I could also decrease the contrast to make it pop a little bit more, but still I would lose some contrast in this photograph, and I kind of like the contrasty image. So I'm not touching contrast whatsoever. I think I would like a little bit more detail on the rock. So I'm just gonna bring up the darks a little bit, because then I'll get more details on the trees as well, but not too much. I don't want to go crazy here. So basically this is it. I mean, this photograph could have been stacked, but in order to bring a little bit more detail on the rock, but there are other ways to fix this. Let's start off with this. Now the next thing I want to do is bring out the clouds a little bit more. So I'm gonna turn down the highlights just a teeny little bit, so I can get more details on the clouds like that. And then the colors. The colors are really important of this photograph. So I'm gonna increase the vibrance and the saturation a little bit, because this is what brings out the sky, you know. This is like the fiery yellow, really monster skies. I'm not gonna go crazy like this, but you can see that I can bring out some colors when I do that. Oh, that's a bit too much, even for me. So around there, maybe 40. Like that, we are getting towards the final image that I took. I could try and bring out some more detail from the shadowy parts, but I'm not sure that I want to do it because it is a bit too much, you know, like this reversed S-curve. But I'm not that happy with that, so I'm just gonna undo that and keep it as is. Now, there's one more thing that I could do, and that is to dehaze a little bit, because that will bring out a little bit of color in the sky. I kind of like the dehaze in this image. I kind of like to, no, maybe not. Yeah, just dehaze it a little bit, like not too much, like 5 would do just right. Just like that. All right, so I think I'm gonna do one more thing with this photograph, and that is to try and select the rock and make it pop out a little bit more. And there are different ways you can do that, but I'm going to do it with a radial filter, just like that, and then move it towards the rock and just make sure that I select the rock, because I want it to be prominent. I want the eye to start on the rock and then the color fiery sky of the horizon. So what I usually do when I add a radial filter like this is that I usually go crazy with the exposure. I just put it like to 4, just so I can see which area will be affected by this filter, because I know if it's like this, then I can see that the filter will affect the lake or the ocean, and I don't want to do it. So I'm just pushing it back in order to see that it will only affect the rock, like that. And then I just reset the entire thing so I can start from scratch. Now, what I want to do is that I want to put a little bit more light on this rock. So just to make it pop out a little bit in this photograph. So I'll just start a little bit with exposure. I'm being very careful with what I'm doing here. Decrease the contrast a little bit, because this rock is really contrasty anyway, so it doesn't matter that much to me. And let's see what happens if I bring up. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a bit blue. The entire rock has been kind of blue in this photograph, and in order to tackle that, I'm going to bring down the saturation. So I don't want any colors on this one, really. So I'm gonna go like -60 on this one. I'm guessing that the blues are the reflection from the sky or something. I'm not sure. And yeah, this is basically it. I mean, I can try a little bit more, like add a little bit more contrast to the entire image just to see more of the details in the sky. But all in all, I think I am kind of happy with this photograph as it is. There are of course some details that I could fix later on, like spillings from the birds or like a grass straw sticking out, but I'm not bothering too much of the details on this one. So this is it. I'm happy with this photograph. there is one little thing left that I'd like to do, and that is to add a little bit of vignette on this one. I usually do it in Lightroom by using this post-crop vignetting thing. How do you say? The post-crop vignetting section. And that's it. I could also check these two boxes, but these generally affect the entire image a little bit too much. Like that, it just went way brighter than it was. So I kind of forgot about that now. I mean, I usually tick these two in the beginning so I know where to start. So now in the end it's a bit off, but at least I can remove the chromatic aberration. All right, so that's it. This is the final photograph. I can show you guys in full screen. I'm kind of happy with this. Although I had to leave due to the tick situation. And by the way, I didn't get any ticks. I got one later on a later adventure that's coming up. But as you can see, this photograph was taken at 1/20th of a second at f11 and ISO 100. I was at 30mm using my 24-70mm f2.8 L series lens versus version 2 on a Canon. I think this one, yes, this one was on my Canon 5D Mark III with the Canon 24-70mm. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to stop right there, and I hope you have enjoyed this process and maybe given you a few tips on how I use Lightroom and what you can do with Lightroom. But all in all, I figure I'll do a little bit more of these videos just to like show you the entire process, not just the process of going out and capture the photograph, but also the process of post-processing it. So yeah, that's it for this one. And as usual, if you like this video, do give it a like. It helps a lot. And if you want to see more of my upcoming content, don't forget to subscribe. And as usual, do comment and write in the comment section. I love the discussions that pop up there. So keep up that work. And yeah, I'll just see you next time. All right, goodbye for now.